Welcome to Afterlife Topics and Metaphysics. This is Cyrus coming at you with another video. By the way, we talk about complex supernatural metaphysical subjects here that you may not hear anywhere else on the YouTubes. And so tonight I've noticed some really interesting comments in the comment sections of the videos lately. So I want to do a couple of videos about these subjects that viewers have brought up. So let's dive into it, I guess. So on the last video I did about moral relativism, we had Unplugged the Matrix, who is a long-time commenter on this channel, provides some pretty interesting stuff about evil and the nature of evil and the afterlife. He is a out-of-body experiencer who always has interesting topics to talk about. Real quick before we dive into this, if you're new around here, if you're into out-of-body experiences, astral projection, life after death, this kind of stuff, be sure to hit that subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Give it a share, give it a like. This will keep this channel going. It's really difficult right now to keep new channels alive, and this channel's on a little bit of life support, so if you want to help out, I appreciate that. To continue. So, concerning evil, moral relativism, what is evil on that side? Does it operate the same way as it does here? There was a big post here by Unplug, so I'm going to recite as much of it as I can, maybe summarize a little bit of it, so here we go. I'd also like to say that in the afterlife there is no need for places like hell, where people go to be punished for their evil actions. I say there is no such thing as hell, no one gets punished, we are our own punishers. We are the ones carrying the whip of shame, and we are the ones pushing ourselves into these very dark realms. I definitely recommend the book Vistas of Infinity to learn more about how, quote, hell operates on that side. So it's very much a co-creative process, and people create these kind of dark places. So anyway, over there, evil is just a minor annoyance. Let's say that in the afterlife you have a crappy neighbor who intentionally runs over your dog. Well, that's not going to actually hurt the dog, it's just going to piss it off. It's funny. Then let's say your neighbor gets drunk and drives his car into your living room. That's very annoying, but in the afterlife you can repair the damage to your house in mere seconds with your mind, just by imagining it the way you want it to be. So over there, even the worst people are just a minor annoyance. So there is no need for places like hell. Well, I mean, there isn't no hell anyway, like religions conceptualize it. Hitler could never have gotten away with all the things he did in the afterlife. It's only in the physical world where evil really becomes a problem. So go out of body and ask someone in the afterlife if they think there is a need for a hellish condition to deal with evil people, and they'll probably say no. That being said, people who do bad things can have really screwed up afterlife experiences if they don't know how to get around in the afterlife and to protect themselves. That's why dark afterlife worlds scare the crap out of near-death experiencers. Just look at Howard Storm's NDE, or of course Jurgen's descent into a suicide bomber kind of astral realm that's like a perverted version of Islam, with like a river of corpses and like a out of tune call to prayer, and there were imams trying to help pull these people out of this river of despair, and it was insane. You can find the full description in the book Vistas of Infinity, or you can Google suicide bombers afterlife Jurgen. There's some websites that have transcripts of that story. It's insane. But I've run into far crazier things in the astral, and I've never run into anything I couldn't handle. True, same here. So if you want to make sure you have a positive afterlife experience, just be sure to learn how things really work over there. The best way to do this is to have OBEs. And no, I don't believe in moral relativism. It's just that it's been my experience that in the afterlife, fire and brimstone isn't much of a problem. Yeah, I don't think anyone is arguing that there really is a hell like people imagine it to be. I've literally stood in hellfire just to see if it would hurt, and it didn't. So dark afterlife worlds really only scare the uninformed. Once you know the basics of how things work in the afterlife, they won't be a problem with them. Well, there's a few things I'd like to add or point out about this. Again, then Plug, thanks for sharing these ideas. So what we see is, I think that the level of karmic entanglement that can happen is far worse than you might be catching on, might be describing, Unplug. We learn about this again, like with Jurgen's work and certain NDEs and other astral explorers who have visited realms just nightmarish beyond description. And as Unplugged points out, this is due to actions done on Earth where consequences are much more severe. So philosophically, we can argue that this is why people incarnate on Earth, because consequences are so much more severe. So this is a place that tests your moral characteristics. So like in Jurgen's description of a place where suicide bombers end up, I mean, there is no comparison between that and hell, because what he experienced was worse than anything in Dante's Inferno, anything that Dante could dream up of. It was the ultimate kind of psychological nightmare, and it was created by the entanglements inside the minds of the people who brutally hurt so many people and caused so much pain and distress and unhappiness to people. Imagine all the families of all the victims of all the people that these suicide bombers had taken, all while clinging to this false idea of like 72 virgins and being rewarded for committing horrible deeds, which is, by the way, very similar to what the New Agers believe in, because moral relativists believe that you can go and blow yourself up or do anything you want and it's eternal bliss for everybody under all circumstances, which is very similar to what the Islamists believe, which is that you can blow yourself up murdering people and you have eternal bliss in paradise on the other side. So it's a very similar philosophy, and both are just as wrong. So we know from these dark astral conditions that just the extent of the despair that can happen to souls and how difficult it is to get out of those cycles. And this does occur from this side of the veil. Is it possible to be evil on that side? It's possible to be obnoxious on an evil level. And I've seen this like when there was a woman who was unleashing these little metal insects that were terrorizing people. And this happened when I was in Astral Phoenix. And I actually took one of them back with me to observe it. So basically people were screaming and running in different directions as she was doing this, until finally basically the police had to show up and detain her. And yeah, there are police on the astral side. I grabbed one of these insects and teleported back to my home on the astral and inspected it in the garage, at which point it broke free from me, attacked me, and began replicating, invading my garage. Like it was on a programmed mission to kill and destroy. I ended up running out of my garage in a panic because this thing just wouldn't give up on me. I was able to keep it trapped inside the garage, lock the door, and then I ended the experience, came back to my body. And I assume it's going to eventually disappear. It's not. I don't think it stayed in my garage after that. But the point is, like, this woman was able to cause a lot of destruction at that moment and required outside security personnel to apprehend her. This was on the astral world. So I don't think it's always a simple matter of just imagining something to go away, or imagining a house is fixed and it's instantly fixed. It does seem like on that middle astral level, it's possible to cause some damage if you're hell bent on hurting people and causing harm to people. But it's not going to karmically hurt somebody so badly that it may push them down into the kinds of places Jurgen and other veteran out-of-body explorers have seen, because there's not enough, just like Unplugged says, there's not enough consequence. It really sucked getting bitten by this like robotic wasp ant thing, and I felt the pain just like I would here, and it really sucked. But it wouldn't have been able to kill me, and ultimately, all you're doing is being a pain in the ass. You're being basically the equivalent of an internet troll, and you end up getting dealt with. And there is in these consensus worlds, there is security and there is law enforcement, and just like it is here. But again, it doesn't have that severe karmic ramification like it does on this world. So this world is the testing ground, really, where our ethics and karma is put to the test, which is again why it's so dangerous to claim that you can do anything you want here and we all go to the same place after we die, and that the astral conditions don't exist. We all just become non-physical orbs of light in a fairy tale candy land of positive, loving energy in source consciousness, floating around forever and ever and ever, never growing, never developing, never building character, never discovering new things, just floating around in peace and enlightenment, which you hear about in these uninformed types of books that don't have the full picture of what it's like on that side. So we know that there are these hellish conditions. I've encountered negative astral entities, demonic entities, if you will, as would be interpreted by religions at least. And there is this spectrum, and there's entities that enjoy this spectrum. But this world is the testing ground, and nothing you do on the astral side, I think, could ever have a consequence like it can on this side. And that's why we're here. So we don't incarnate because we're not able to eat chocolate and hug people on the other side, so we want to experience those physical things, which is another New Ager theory that floats around, which I would call bunk on. We incarnate here because it's the ultimate testing ground. It's the ultimate place of developing who you are and testing who you are as a person, testing your character, putting yourself into very difficult situations. Just imagine what an EMT worker has to go through on this side. Like, one day of working as an EMT is more intense and crazier in this level than anything anybody can do on the astral side, dealing with this life and death concept, which exists here. It's an illusion. It's not real. There is no life and death and all this stuff. It's just this nonsensical thing that's the illusion of the physical world. But because so many people have bought into that illusion and they don't know any better, we deal with intense trauma and potentially intense negative emotions that we just would never be able to experience anywhere else. And this is why I think that we incarnate on this side. Now, we also incarnate on the astral side, and it's just, people can call the astral side paradise because it's just, by comparison to here, it is a playground. I mean, you can explore anything you want. You can be engaged in sort of playful life and death. I mean, maybe you want to go and, I don't know, go join some medieval army, or go join Lord of the Rings, some recreation, and become an elf and fight orcs. And yeah, you're really killing those orcs, but then they respawn. It's kind of like a video game. They come back, and it's not like it's some kind of a thing where there's real hard consequences on the line. But I mean, unless you really pretend and role play, it's this world where all that stuff takes effect. So those are my thoughts about this subject. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments section below. This stuff may be way over your head. If it is, you may want to check back some of the earlier videos, or check out my first book, Understanding Life After Death, as a primer for many of these complex subjects. You can check out afterlifetopics.com. If you want to support the work I do to help keep this channel going and toss in $30 a month while being part of really cool classes that we put on, access to a huge archive of afterlife related classes, then go to afterlifetopics.com/university. So that's one way to support the work we do. And yeah, that's about it. Guess I'll see you guys on the next video.